public comment. Has anybody signed up for public comment today? Additions to acceptance of the agenda. We just thought this one up, but we need to authorize the superintendent to commit to contracts for combination school agreements of the WHSSA type, like the ski program we did last year, or other ones that don't cost, well, we don't have to commit to funding these at this time. The parents are going to take care of it.
But it's under the same protocol, as long as it doesn't cause additional funding. Instead of coming to you as a board, you're granting me permission to make those decisions and approve all combination school agreements by the Wyoming High School Activities Association, as long as there's no cost to the combination school agreement. If there's a cost, then it'll come to you.
Then it comes to the board and we got to talk it over. Yeah. But I'd like to add that as an action item. It'd be our third. Under action items, we'd have A, B, and then C. Would be authorize the super to sign contract combination school contract.
Combination school agreements.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to make that addition.
So moved.
And a second, if I could.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
The only discussion I would have is, Charles, will you let us know
Yes,
what schools we're getting into agreements with?
that'll be that's part of the requirements we did last time.
Thank you.
Perfect. Anything else? All in favor of modifying the agenda to include the authorization, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? Right on. Thank you, guys. Okay. Has anybody got anything else that we need to add in or tack on? Then I take a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Righto. Report time, district levels. Anybody got a question for our district level reports?
I'll ask that down.
I wanted to tell Val, thanks for the little extra. I really like the 504 versus that individual education plan. Not the other one I was. Anyway, I thought that was really a fun little video to watch. It helped me clarify some of that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I think our district level reports really demonstrated how summertime is not break time.
It's on, isn't it?
It's kind of the meat of the matter to get ready for the new year and to keep things going and time for training. So everyone's very busy. We have a lot of good stuff going.
Working hard and getting it done in the admin office. That'd be great. Okay, no questions there. We'll move on. Superintendent report. Mr. Superintendent. Anybody got questions?
So any questions for me as a board on my presentation?
So, Charles, can I ask, when did that come on? I read your stuff last night when that.
So my superintendent's report came on Sunday night. I did not realize it was not linked. It was done 2 weeks ago. So I linked it late last night about, I think, 7:30.
Oh, I know it's earlier than that, because I read it. Was
That's what done stuff about 4 to 5 of them. Trying to read it. So, I'll read it.
That did you know was awful fun. The best in the West School District portion was sort of fun to read.
I like the gratitude.
Yes.
Motivational video.
Other questions?
So, Mr. Chair, I will double check next time. There's a series of events that happened last week that I will double check to make sure that it was linked. So I have that on my to-do list.
Excellent.
Our superintendent is now in-law, so that's why he's busy.
Yeah, you did have a couple of other things to deal with recently.
He's an in-law.
I don't know. I don't want that. Yeah. That's a Sheridan problem, not us. Sorry. Director's reports.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please.
Mr. Zane, don't you want to get up and celebrate and shoot off some fireworks and jump up and down and
Probably
say,
didn't happen.
It's not signed off yet.
2 o'clock tomorrow?
2 o'clock tomorrow.
Can we have a ride then?
If you care to take that risk.
I'll take that.
I'm tempted to have a dance party.
They're working on it right now.
Okay.
So
So, John, I had to read that twice. It said, anyhow, the crew will be here Monday 8th with the governor. And I thought, why is Mark Gordon
I
coming?
was just gonna say, I read it the same
You
way.
got
at
the
first.
same-
Yeah, then I had to read
Really
it again.
cool.
Oh, wait a minute, the governor for the elevator.
This elevator has hit Cheyenne, so I'm sure he's aware of it.
Finally had to call him in to get parts, but he did it.
I read that and I had to read it out loud to my family. So, what do you need to know with the governor? I said, think about it though, longer.
So I asked John earlier, and John, so the water in all the fields is up and working now?
And yes. Yep, we've had a lot of breaks this year. Just the stuff in the ground getting old.
Maintaining those polys is difficult over time.
Yeah, it's all PVC, it's thin wall, slip pipe, sewer line, there's everything.
So a
under the
good
sun out
tackle
there.
can fracture a line on the football field.
Yeah.
Great.
But football fields, nice and green except for one spot where they are doing their kicks and stuff, but it's nice and green.
Good.
The high school?
Coming back.
The concrete project's progressing good. I saw some demo.
Yeah,
going on.
they're getting behind schedule. Casey's pretty well wrapped up.
Good.
We got some lines paint parking lot. They were supposed to start pouring Wednesday at Clear Creek. They're behind, they're hoping Friday now.
Oh.
The soil there is because of groundwater.
Works out.
If they dig, water comes up. So they're trying to get to compaction. They've scarified it all up, trying to use hot temperatures to
Ferment.
melt
Dry it.
and then compact. Then they snagged the main water line there today and flooded the whole site.
Oh, perfect. So next Friday then.
Yeah.
John,
Mr.
what
Chair.
is mezzanine?
Mezzanine, it's an elevated platform above space. If you're referring to New West, the bathroom there's a mechanical mezzanine up there. Before that building was turned into what it is now, there used to be a drive-through garage. So above the restrooms is a hot water heater and a furnace for that main area in those classrooms. That has to be moved in order to construct these new bathrooms. Because the support wall has to turn and we can't support it. So,
So is it kind of like a free space?
Yeah.
Where you build
yeah, there's a frame up there and a deck above ceiling and everything's up there. So it's all gonna move to the other mezzanine above the garage.
Gotcha, thank you.
Mr. Chair, John, I do, one quick question for you. The parking lot's all really nice. The painted lines, everything's really good. I'm not sure of your duties with the collaboration up with the city, but, with school starting in a little less than a month, I've personally called myself the last 2 years to Les Hook, who is the, city works manager,
Now retired.
who is now retired, and it's now Kevin Silvernagle. So my question for you is there some collaboration with the city to make sure that all of our sidewalks on Burritt and on Gatchel and on DeSmit and then anywhere else like leading to the high school and those bike lanes, they typically repaint them, but the schedule has been the week after school starts or the week of school starting. So just a thought, I didn't know if that was something that you do, John, or,
I usually reach out to them in
okay,
summertime and ask for a schedule. And it's usually the week that school starts or the
Yeah.
week after.
okay.
that they're out
I just
there
didn't know if
painting.
we wanted to be a little bit proactive since we have an opportunity with a new, public works manager to maybe make sure that that's priority so that they're not in the way. And that, because it's nice out and there's kids all over riding bikes, e-bikes, skateboards, scooters, all the things. And I personally have called the last 2 years questioning, and it's on a schedule, but it's always late.
Yep.
So,
Always late.
okay,
The city always runs and they always tell me it's on our schedule, this is when we
Yeah.
do it. Cause it's always concern every year at Clear Creek. Start school for the kiddos
Absolutely.
crossing, go to football practice. And
Yeah.
It's usually the week the school starts, they come out there and paint.
and I don't know if they really, if, with the one that they set up on Burritt, like kinda up behind those bus lanes too, or not Burritt, sorry, it's DeSmit. Which is like right behind the bus lanes, that's another one that really, that they usually get, but those ones on Burritt with all those kids and that one from going from the soccer fields to Cloud Peak, like, I'm telling you, that one's busy.
Yeah, and they
So-
put that red brick in there for that, as that crosswalk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you see the corners, but I'm just saying, like, the lines, I don't know, I just think it's important.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Thanks,
I'll
John.
make sure I reach out to them.
awesome, thank you.
Anybody got questions for? Go
Another
ahead.
thing to add, Charles and I received some news, well, he called and told me some news. By tomorrow at 4:00, we have to have some items put together for component funding. The state's gonna go and try to put a budget together. And so we gotta work tomorrow and create the list and itemize it, priority, and they're gonna go to bat. You got a call from John Rex's at the state today. So hopefully coming up, we'll have some component projects coming up. Major maintenances can sustain the pay for. Well, they're above that $1 million mark.
So with that process, part of everything that we did when we did our facility studies and we brought all that to the table and then they brought some things, they're just behind the 8 ball. So John called and apologized. He said that you have 2 days to see where we're gonna be. So we're gonna give it to him tomorrow. There's no guarantee, but at least we're in the pipeline for component projects, out of those $20 million worth of facilities. So, call John, call Levi, we cleared our schedules for tomorrow morning to sit down and come up with at least, I think we agreed to the top 8. So we can at least have some, skin in the game and potentially get some component level funding, which then will free up major maintenance funding for some of the other projects. So that's exciting. We've been talking about it for 2 years, so that's kind of the ball starting to roll now. And the reason it's rolling is because the state just opened the door. So we've been prepared, so now it's starting to put the wheels in motion and we'll see where it lands.
Awesome. Good work, you guys.
It's good news, but, it's baby steps. But
Yeah, lots of work to
Get
do.
it out there.
But my celebration for you as the board and the community to know is there's been a lot of work put into this. I mean, I appreciate the fact is you allowed me to go out and get a study of our facilities. We put some things together so we can start creating that 5 to 10 year plan. We know there was over $20 million when it first came out. That's probably more like $25 million now because the cost keeps going up. But we're in line to start getting in the pipeline for component projects. So that's part of the whole budget, what we're trying to do to align our budget, start doing long-term planning. So we'll see where this lands and then we'll learn from it and then we'll go for the next round, which is in 2 years. Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Anybody got?
Bill, a quick question. Will, you know where I had trouble logging into your report? Will you always send it that way, or was that a glitch? Or?
I think that was a little glitch in the system. I sent it over to Heidi on Thursday, and so yeah, I went in, changed the access from restricted to everybody. So I appreciate that. Yeah, you reached out to me, and Travis did about the same time as well. Yeah, so I was able to get that put in. So.
Yeah, perfect. You got turned around faster than I could go back. Oh, I didn't even finish reading my report.
I got that. I was like, oh yeah, well maybe I sent it restricted. So I apologize for that.
Oh, it's okay. My favorite is reply all. Go ahead.
No, I do like how you ended it, accident free.
Yeah.
23, 24, yeah.
Yes, well done, you guys did good. Thank you.
That's a huge accomplishment. I wanted to highlight that. The thousands upon thousands of miles that we do. Last year we were accident free. So kudos to my crew, the drivers, and everybody, as well as the community for understanding that the buses are in route, and everybody's been really good with working with us on that. So that's a huge mile marker for us. We want to do that every year.
Yep.
Kick that ball, keep that going.
So, yeah, good call. Anything else? Director reports. All right, rec board is not gonna happen tonight. Marcia had another engagement. BOCES.
Just like we are doing, we approved the 24-25 budget. Had the budget hearing, just like we're doing tonight. Approved the budget.
Okay. BOCES.
So with BOCES, we will have a Zoom meeting to set the agenda July 15th at 3:30, and then we'll have our meeting July 31st at 5:30 to 7:30 at Sheridan College.
Uh-huh.
So with that, Dave, I will be able to attend the Zoom meeting, so I know what's going on. So because my schedule's changed a little bit, but I will still be in class for the
Jan, you gonna be available?
All right, next up is our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Got a motion and a second. Any additional discussion regarding consent agenda items?
I just have one question. Connie? I noticed on the warrants, there's a whole list, and I'm sure it's the money that the kids have raised, that they, all the travel, all basketball for this and that. Is that, but it comes out of general fund. How does that work? How do they?
Okay, so when you're looking at your warrants and vouchers, and I couldn't find my copy, so I must have picked it up. So does it say agency funds?
No, it was in the general.
It says general, but I know that's when they went to camps.
It was a camp that the kids are going to. How was that funded? Don't know. Okay.
I couldn't find my copy, so I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah, come.
I think it was on page 11.
Over flight tickets, FBLA
Yeah,
nationals.
all these activities. Mine were like,
It's either 80 funds.
oh, okay, 80.
Either 80 funds are the fundraising funds.
So it's
Oh. Okay, I didn't even notice that on the
Because
side.
they're 80 funds too, so it's all 80 funds. It's not general fund.
See on the side here?
Oh, I
Which
did
page?
see that.
I
So let me
didn't.
go back and look.
Yeah, they're all
But
there.
isn't it under the general?
But it's-
under general funds, but so you have a separate category.
Okay, so see how the.
I do, it's over. Oh,
So 01, so here's the end of 01.
oh, so that's it.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
on page 10, everything that's got an 80 in front of it
It's
is
80
what we
funds,
talked about.
activity funds,
Okay.
so but it is a separate fund.
There is down through.
I hate to say this, I've been on the board, and I've never noticed,
I didn't notice that either.
I've never
Yeah.
noticed the 80 on the side, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, we learned something, good call. Anything else for the consent agenda? Any discussion?
Connie, I'm sorry, I meant to ask this earlier too,
Okay.
just an email, because it's a little question, but, and it's small potatoes compared to everything else, but it was the flowers for graduation, and it came from, I think, principal operations or budget.
Mm-hmm.
So that graduating class doesn't have to pay for that, that's not their class money, or is that?
You're asking a principal question.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry, okay.
So they decide how those funds are spent, so,
So
they
whatever it is they're
budget a
doing.
little bit for graduation, so they may cover some of the things that maybe the students covers.
So that kind of falls under operations of an administrator, building leadership, so, every building's a little bit different. It could be one community, the class raises the flowers, or it could be something, whatever the conditions of individual schools are, so it could range a bit, but that falls definitely under the operations of the buildings.
I was just gonna say, if the kids were paying for it, don't buy us board members flowers.
Yeah, please do.
I think just to like something we gained involved the last couple of years, it also is what gets pushed over from the class before and how the kids are like budgeting some of it. I know like my junior class that is going to graduate, we budgeted for it. Like the kids sat down and made sure. I don't know that that's how every class operates. So they kind of got, so it what they value their, and then it kind of helps them make sure. So this, thank you.
What else, gang, for the consent agenda?
Mr. Ospey, noticing under the employment, are we pretty much full?
A lot can happen between now and the start of the school year, but the answer to that is yes, with certified staff.
Certified.
I am hoping I'm not coming to you with any open positions.
May it be so. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, I think it's important to note that we did go through, and this isn't just something we're throwing out. It's
Been a long time that the
long
work
time
session.
in our
work
work
session,
session.
working these over, that's all true.
That, I mean, nothing was added or taken away, but we did have long discussion.
And I apologize, because just going through my notes from last year, knowing we're starting activity season, so the addition of that could easily be done in August, but I appreciate you doing it now. But that's definitely something that needs to be on the agenda, whether it's tonight or in August.
Yeah, but every year, this meeting, we should be
So
taking that.
we should be doing it in July.
Did you make a note of that? Remind me. Okay, in that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent. Oh, we have a motion in a second. I just need to. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Righto. Okay, next up, we've got our public budget hearing.
I make a motion to enter into budget hearing for public comment only.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. As a reminder, this is the board's time to listen. So comment here, our discussion will be after this.
So Connie will go through the revisions and then we get public comments. If there is any public comment at this point, then we'll go from there. So the 100 was, she worked on it Friday and all weekend. So there's some of the data, some good news within this. With where we're at, we'll try to make this very quick, but if we need to slow down and answer questions, we will, but some of the numbers have changed due to the 100.
Yeah, rock and roll it. We're pretty familiar from the last round.
Sorry.
So as you guys mentioned, I got the email in the middle of the meeting that she put out the final, and then she revised it twice since then, so who knows?
So final.
Final or not.
Absolutely.
So,
Original round.
in the public meeting, I really wanted to come out and just really talk about our vision and mission. Our vision is to empower all students to thrive, and our mission is united with multiplicative excellence. We're excited about the new strategic plan. So our new values are integrity, pride, resilience, and respect. Our goals. Goal number 1 is to enhance the learning and growth through essential academic and life skills. Our second goal is to strengthen culture and engagement. Our goal 3 is to operate an effective and efficient organization, and that's where I live, and hopefully this budget reflects those goals. So just to talk about the message, we talked a little bit about that we just had data, we met with everybody, we contacted the county treasurer, contacted WDE, the county assessor, and then we want the budget to reflect the objectives based on the needs of the district. One of our top priorities are employee retention, recruitment, building cash reserves, and funding depreciation reserves using a multi-year strategy. And then we're hoping to use all the federal dollars and leverage them and use them as best we can. So student enrollment did not change since Wednesday. So this stayed the same. So we decreased by actual student ADM this year by 16.531. And then our rolling average decreased by 6.319. And over the last 3 years, we've lost 30 kiddos in the rolling average. So this is one of the slides that change our foundation guarantee sitting at this moment today is $20,347,825, and that's a difference from last year of $900,000, and it was $838,000 on Wednesday. So we did gain about $600,000 in extra money there. This did not change. The assessed valuation is predicted to be 410. That's $100 million less than it was last year. And then we're going to hopefully will approve the one bill for recreation and then half a bill for purchase. So this did change a little bit. We were, I think on Wednesday we did 0.76 FTEs this past and it's really 0.67, so it fluctuated a little bit from the, whatever changes they made from March to July.
Wait, where's the prices? Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So on this slide, again, the cash reserve hasn't, this slide did not change. Just remember 30% now up through June 26. And it looks like we will be hitting well below that cash reserve this year. Expenditures, this is really the same, but I did want to bring up that we got an ECA, and we put that as much as we could to salaries and benefits. So we increased the base of all salary schedules. And every employee will receive a step or a loan, if they are eligible for a loan, but definitely a step because we increased those salary schedules by 3 years. So everybody that was sitting there that hadn't got a step in a while now will get a step for the next 3 years. And then I also increased the utilities from the actual cost that we had this year and multiplied that by another 50%, so we make sure we have enough. And then general fund and education expenditures are rising, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. This is the same. We wanted $375,000 to depreciation, and we'll move $250,000 last year, and that's what we budgeted for this year for food service to move in there. The depreciation is currently at 1.9 million.
Connie, I just noticed in the warrant you did transfer that money to the depreciation account.
So if that's, I had that in the budget message, that was part of it, but this is the summary, and I really kind of want to read this word for word, because I think this is really important. This is the direction that we're going. The decline in funding is real. The district is hoping to mitigate the risk using cash reserves to balance the budget. Superintendent Oski has developed a district stabilization initiative with the support and approval of the JCSD #1 Board of Trustees. Superintendent Oski believes we can accomplish stabilization by 1, implementing new expectations for the 6-12 master schedule. Number 2, capping district expenditure obligations for activities. Number 3, achieving financially sustainable class sizes. Absorbing teaching positions through natural attrition. Creating and utilizing current staffing resources. And the last, streamlining operations. I wanted to add our strategic goal number 3. It states that we will operate an effective and efficient organization by allocating available resources and utilizing consistent systems and processes with accountability. This budget reflects the goal and also recognizes the need to compensate the employees of the district in a manner that will address not only the retention of current staff, but also recruitment of new employees. And we really believe that this budget is working toward that. So here's the budget overview. Remember, this is the way I have to budget by state statute, so budget by function. So we moved this to $25,687,655. So I made a little bit of adjustment. I changed the estimates on the reimbursement for transportation expense. So those were a little high, and then I had to reduce this a little bit. So I moved some things around, and hopefully we can hit this is less budget by that $61,000. Okay, so the top one is how we normally see it, and hopefully the next little box is how we're going to see it moving forward. We're going to look at general fund activities, transportation, and sped on the budget, so it makes it a little bit clearer. You kind of understand a little bit better. Okay, so from this has changed a little bit, and so what I wanted to bring out to you is that it's at 128,138 and not 189.
So it went down quite a bit.
Yeah, we're closing in.
Yeah, doing really well. So it looks like a final projection function is 879, and I think it was 700 and something. This stayed about the same. This went down a little bit because I manipulated up some things up there, so I think we're looking pretty good at 128,000. Using cash reserves to meet that.
And that changed because you got more from the state.
Yeah. And I also estimated high on those reimbursement side to lower that, so it all kind of looked at really well. Okay. So this is a new slide. I just wanted to talk about, there's some questions about the revenue and expenses. I just wanted you to see that our revenue, we have enough revenue that will cover the expenses that we set up. Any questions on that slide? And again, this is by function, and so, but it's by function, but by the way, we kind of changed it by department. So it's general fund with no activity, no transportation spend in it. Then we have activities, then we have transportation, and then we have spend. So hopefully you can kind of watch this as we go through here. Okay, so we have about 79% of salaries and benefits to operations, to the 21% operations. So I just wanted to bring up something that Skyward has allowed us to, and we're close. We are budgeted to almost to the penny on salaries and benefits because they just let us do that. And so all that fluff that was in there is pretty, I was able to make it really look at it and what it's actually going to be. So that helped us with the bottom line. So one of the things that you asked Charles about is everything on the general fund side of it. On that first part, yes. And we've got about $55,000 worth of vacancies in activities. So that's coaches and sponsors, right? And then in transportation, we're holding about $119,000 out there for the possibility to do in-town routes. It's not, right now it's not a possibility, but we still have it in there so that we would have that. And then in SPED, we've got a site, we're trying to still replace the psychologist, and then we've got some paras. Do you have a teacher in there? Yeah, it's just paras and that side. Okay.
Connie, just, sorry, curiosity question, my data nerd popped up. Can the principals see this that way too? So they can go through and track their budgets like you're talking about?
So they're going to be able to track their budgets any way they want to because of our software.
The new software?
We're almost there. We've got the connection. Power School came in and got involved in 2 or 3 rounds. And so finally we've gotten past that, but there's just one more glitch, and so they're working hard on it. When I talked to them today.
That would be a great tool for them.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I nerded out.
Connie, let me be clear what you said because I'm not. So our salaries and benefits used to run about 81 point something %. Now it's a 79. You said it was because some of the fluff in there. Give me an example of some of the fluff in salaries and benefits.
So it's not so much that it's fluff. That's maybe a wrong number. It's that we couldn't determine to the penny before. So we're guessing, okay, well, I've got 5 positions open. Where are they going to land? So we wrote a little bit in there and we just added that. Salaries benefits for activities, they were way high because we're just rolling those budgets over, right? And so maybe they didn't hire somebody 3 years ago, but we're still carrying that over because they've changed the structure of who they're hiring and what they're hiring.
So basically what I'm hearing from you is if you have somebody that's got X amount of years of experience and they resign, retire, you hire somebody less, and that's what changes your salary and benefits.
Some of that,
So
or
it's still
they.
hard to do.
So can I speak to that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
So what we're talking about here, and maybe the proper word's not fluff, but we cleaned up our system. Our old accounting system had either employees that either weren't existing or it was placed somewhere else. So we, through the adoption of Skyward as we moved through this, and one of the goals was to get everything into our our new system
Yeah.
and not have it in a spreadsheet or this is what we do. This is some of the cleanup that happened with that. So as we're putting salaries out, and this is part of why we have to have a salary schedule now, so we have a system that actually we put in and it creates numbers instead of guesstimates. That's why some of that kind of falls into that 79 to 80% or 81%. I can also actually sit down and say, the information that Connie's presenting to us now through Skyward really solidifies that piece. We can say it's 79 or 80% and 20% of our budget. So all those accounts that really were inactive or there was potentially some budget there that we didn't know about, we're able to start presenting to you as a board actuals, okay? And so we might be off a percentage point here or there, but I feel confident as we learn the system more, we've cleaned up a lot of codes, we've cleaned up a lot of employees in our old system that weren't taken out. So we're gonna start seeing real numbers. So that 79%, we can move up to 80%. So now we can start making good decisions. So the reality for me is it was just cleaning up the system and putting employees where they should be in each building so we know how to pay them.
Because at the end of the month, you should know what your salaries, definitely know what your benefits.
And so it was always that budget that was 80%, right? It wasn't really the actual. So now our budget is closer to the actual.
We wait till the hearing till they ask questions.
Yeah, we're supposed to be holding our bid till after the public hearing,
Okay.
so we'll try to let it run and we
I
can
have
go
a
back
question.
into it afterwards.
I didn't know if it was appropriate to ask now, but I have a question. So wait, okay, I'll wait.
Okay.
All right, so now this is the non-general fund budget that we're going to talk about. And this is last year's budget and what we actually spent. So I don't think I need to go through every one of those. You have those in front of you, but all those budgets are clean. We didn't overspend any of the budgets, so we don't have to make an amendment on this at all. So this is going to be our 24-25 non-general fund budgets. And one of the things the auditors asked me to do is to budget by function.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why it looks a little bit different. Instead of just having one line for special revenue, I put it in functions. So we're budgeting $3 million for special revenue because we don't have ESSER. The built grant is spent down, so we don't have those high dollar grants as much. And so, and then we even receive less money, and then we have less carryover as well. So we did a pretty good job spending grant money this year. Major maintenance, that one I may have to come back to you at some point, depending on how. If we get component money, I'm gonna have to come back and say, can you give me a budget so we can spend component money? Where were we at? Bochies, will not spend $250,000. That's kind of just that number that was holding there. Capital construction, is 500, special purpose, which is depreciation is 500. Debt service, I have 75,000. So remember we were paying those retirees insurance and all of it is finished. So we have $75,000, so that $75,000 can come back to them. And then food service is 875, teachers is about 75, and then internal services is at $100,000. So the total for that is $8,375,000. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about depreciation here. So we have $846,000 in personal order. We have $348,000 in widget. We just transferred 375 of this year's budget, and then we have the ESSER supplemental support money, and we used $350,000 of that in FY24, and so now we have a balance of 1.9 million. We're getting closer to that $2.5 million goal.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember we talked a little bit about ESSER and wanting to make sure that we're spending ESSER money correctly and that we not have to pay anything back. And one of the things is that we can go back to March of 2020, and so we took salaries, teacher salaries in March of the 2021 school year, and we used some of those to download cash, and so We took that and then it's paying back general fund because general fund paid for those, right? So it's paying us back on that. And so how we're gonna use that, we used $450,000 in FY '24, and it's on rewards and vouchers now. 350 depreciation and $100,000 in farm services. And then for 2015, so these transfers, so 450 of the transfers already gone, so we have 80 left, and that's earmarked for food service if we need it. Then we have $851,000 to budget support, supplies and materials and equipment, about $100,000. So we weren't going to pay for VHS visuals and all that installation. Well, that got paid for in our budget for last year, so we'll just use that for any kind of technology that we need on that. And then 110 for fitness and health and fitness, which is the weight room, and it came in at about $106,000. So I looked at it 110 just to be able, if something kind of comes up and we're invoiced for something else. And then contracts, that's HR contracts, but and then some PD special speakers, we're going to use that for that. And so that leaves 1.3 million for FY '25 that we have to budget for. So as you can see, I have to budget it by function, and so I spread that out. So that may, anyway, we're predicting we're spending it that way, right? This is supplemental stuff. If something else comes up and you guys, well, could we use some of that? Maybe I might come back to you and say we might need to change these functions out a little bit. Okay. So the final general fund budget, and this is just general fund, is the 687,655 plus the 1.3 million is the $27,003,329. So that's our total general fund budget for FY '25. Okay, and I wanted to separate that because that ESSER supplemental is just a one-time thing. You won't see that next year, right? Okay, so this is where some of the questions came in on Wednesday night. How did we go from 25 million to 35 million? Well, we're 27,003 because that's the general fund plus that ESSER supplemental. And then the 8 million for all the other funds equals the 35 million. Does that make sense? Better sense now?
Color coding.
I love color coding. I love color. Okay. So this is the budget resolution. This is something that Casey will read when we actually approve the budget. And then some of the things to keep in mind, remember our cash flow stabilized, and then the transportation reimbursement amounts, transportation sped, there's still estimates, they'll not be finalized until I send those reports in August. And then cuts, most departments took a 5% cut or didn't replace a vacancy. And then utilities, and we talked about that a little bit, we increased it for 15% over the actual 2024 cost. And then insurance, our property insurance, auto insurance increased by 10%. And I put that in my report so you guys can see that breakdown. And then we also added cybersecurity insurance this time.
Yeah.
For about $1 million. That was, we talked about it for 2 years and we finally got that done. And we also did the gap insurance again this year. So we have certain employees that are covered by workman's comp. They're all that high, the high, I can't get the word, but the janitors, science teachers, those people that could get hurt more normal. So the rest of us are not covered by workman's comp. So if we got hurt, there's not anything to cover us. So we purchased this gap insurance, and so if I broke my leg, it would pay for what I would pay out of pocket. What the insurance wouldn't pay, they'll pay what the out of pocket. So it's up to about $25,000 per incident. So for $1,500, I think it ended up being awesome, beautiful insurance. So we're excited about that. And just again, I want to thank the team, my team. I couldn't have done this without my team. They're pretty awesome. And Charles and supporting you guys, supporting this process. It's been so awesome. Okay, so that's FY '24 budget. So, I mean, 25 budget, let's talk about FY 24. It's separate, and this is not anything we're voting on tonight, but I just want to keep putting it in front of you. This is not the final, because we'll get through all of July, we'll look at all those expenditures. We even found one that we'll have to go back and pay again, because it needs to be a June 30 date, and so this is not final, but we just need to, increase the budget by about $367,000 on the main side, right? So we moved around the functions, and then we just added, mostly that's gonna be that increase to sped, the mental health therapist, the behavior, and some other contracts that we had to pay that we didn't, budget for. And then on the ESSER supplemental support, we went ahead and paid that $450,000 into depreciation this year. And so that would increase that budget by $24,914,000. Well, actually, it would move it up to 367 plus the 450, not that.
Now say that again.
It's going to increase from 24,097 to 24,914.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was trying to add that, and that's not what my paper says.
So it's an increase of the budget,
Yeah.
but not an increase of 24.
No, that's what I said, and I didn't mean to say that. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Okay, well, I think that is it. I think. Any questions on that before, or is there any comments?
From the public, any public comment or discussion regarding the budget? Any public comment? Okay, then I would,
Entertain a motion.
I need to entertain a motion to adjourn the budget hearing and reconvene the regular meeting.
So moved.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor of reentering the regular meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Righto, back into regular session, where the next item just happens to be adopting this budget.
Okay.
So I entertain a motion regarding the adoption of the budget.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt the 25 budget as presented, please.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Okay, now, everybody dive in with your questions. Discussion time for the board.
Okay, Cheryl, Mr. Oskey, I said this last time, the same question. You know, over and over, we look at depreciation. What happens if we don't put that much money into depreciation and put it towards salaries?
So my answer to that question is we have an obligation. I have an obligation to use the superintendent and his board of trustees to take care of the whole district. So, and part of that is creating a depreciation reserve that buys the equipment, whether it's one-to-one technology, Chromebooks, and things of that nature. So it's my responsibility to present to you a stable budget, which includes the ability to pay for things that major maintenance doesn't, and the upkeep of our facilities. When you hear we have $20 million worth of projects, that means we also have some older equipment that has to be replaced. So $375,000. Our goal is to increase salaries and do things through that budgeting piece, but we also have a financial obligation to make sure our facilities and our equipment are maintained annually too. So that's part of a very typical budget. Just going back and looking at the initiative, anywhere from 8 to 10% of your budget is reserves in depreciation reserve. So that $2 to $2.5 million is kind of meeting that goal. We're pretty close to that. But ESSER funds have funded a lot of things that we no longer fund, and that's going to be technology. Technology is one of the huge ones that have been funded with ESSER funds, and to replace Chromebooks and equipment is going to be a depreciation reserve. Some of our other equipment, whether it's cleaning equipment, whether it's refrigerators or different things down the road. And if you really look at it, when you have almost 15 different divisions, and just as an example, not picking on Bill, but you got a $60,000 vehicle, that's one depreciation reserve item out of 16. So in that, it does not take long for a building or something else to fix with depreciation reserve. And as I explained to you before, the easiest way to look at it, the way the facilities people look at it with major maintenance, you take a building, you turn it upside down, and you shake it. Everything that falls out of it falls out of depreciation reserve and is not paid for in major maintenance. So maintaining our equipment and our facilities is a goal and an expectation that I feel as a superintendent, I need to make a recommendation to you, not only to maintain quality staff, but also to maintain our facilities. Did that answer your question?
Well, it's just a question that's always asked. Is there ever a time where we'll max out depreciation account?
That's,
Probably not.
Probably, I know, probably
The
not.
same guy,
but
nothing
what-
breaks.
Yes,
so, but.
what do we have to
but
break
to
here?
you-
Nothing
but
breaks.
For me to come to you and say this, the answer is you as a board,
Don't roll your eyes, John, I saw that.
So, once you have
You
a
have to ask
safety,
the question.
once you have a safety valve that's set, you can do what you want.
Got
Okay,
enough
the
there.
districts that we're compared to, they have a $5 million depreciation reserve, and then people wanna know why their building failed. You have a $9 million depreciation reserve. That didn't happen because they got $9 million in 1 year. They were putting $500,000 to $1 million away a year so they could build facilities. That comes to you as a board. If you wanna go beyond the 2.5 million, and you wanna start saving for long-term projects, that becomes you as a board.
Yes.
Then I will follow that direction. My direction to you as a board is you need to have at least a minimum, because you gotta plan for the unknown, because Murphy's Law is tremendous. No matter how much you plan for something, there will be something that comes up, and then we get the wow effect. It really costs that much to fix that or to buy that? Because with this, if it's not paid for with major maintenance, and it doesn't qualify for a grant, and it's a necessity, and we haven't planned for it, it comes out of our general budget, which then comes away from what we're doing with kids. And under that 20% operations, that I feel that's our obligation to start planning for the future and start moving equipment through as needed. So you're absolutely right. So when you see 79% up on the board of salaries and benefits, our goal was 80. So now with our budget and our new Skyward, we can move closer to 80% or 81%, depending on where you're at. When I started 3 years ago, what did it say in there? We were at $380,000. So we're getting to the point where you as a board can choose, if you want to build a $10 million facility, we can start putting money away for that. But the reality is we're just maintaining a savings account for the Murphy's Law Day or the other.
Mr. Chair, you have to understand, these are questions that are asked to me, that
No, I
I
think
want
these are-
answers to.
I think that's a great question.
I understand that things break, and will always break.
Yep.
So,
But and Jan, I think it's a great question. It's a great question for the community and for teachers to hear is, where are we gonna replace our Chromebooks? They've all been done out of ESSER funds. We do that every year. Where are we gonna replace some of our staff? Because the technology funding didn't go up. We're not getting a huge amount of money, because after COVID, we got an infusion of money to put technology and infrastructure. I can guarantee you that the 100 did not infuse 3 times more money for support of infrastructure, technology, one-to-one technology, laptops, all that kind of stuff. So we've got to start planning for that. Our food service and different things when we transfer money. Food service is always in the hole, all right? So we're putting money towards food service. It's the same thing, kind of a depreciation reserve, except we're replacing equipment, all right, in some cases. So absolutely, I think it's a great question. 375,000 is a lot, but we also lose that focus is we almost have 80% of a $25 million budget that's going to salaries and benefits. So that 375,000 that we're putting towards equipment or general operations is pretty minimal compared when we're already spending close to 80% in salaries and benefits. Does that answer questions?
thank you, appreciate it.
Other discussion?
So Travis, just a couple things, Connie, that I noticed is, we're $128,000 from being a balanced budget. So you've done some good work. Kudos to you. The next thing, when we look at our budget with all of the extras in it, extra accounts were 35 million. So you've budgeted a lot of money into there, and I look at those. You've only spent last year about half of that. So even though we have a $35 million budget, it's not going to get there. So I just want to point that out.
Yes.
And I appreciate that, Dave, because that's part of our discussion we had last year with the budget. Is we
Yeah,
put
we'll
out
get
there
to
what
what
we
we
have,
have.
but we necessarily, we are not just gonna spend for the sake of spending. So, and I think, this year's expenditures kind of reflect that we're not just spending for the sake of spending, so.
Anything else? Anybody? Other questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to say, Connie, thank you, and I would like to say that again, this is something we have gone through line by line and spent hours and hours on, not just in our work session, but our meetings leading up to tonight. So I don't want people to think that she hands us all this information, no, we're gonna vote on it. Well, it is not. This has been gone through and through and through. So thank you, Connie, for explaining it all. I appreciate it.
Pass on to the team. So big, well done. You guys have done great work.
Yeah, and so the budget for me, Connie, gets a little better every year.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Connie, I also would like to tag line off of them. Thanks to you and to your team. The transparency has been phenomenal, the line by line. In my almost 4 years of being on the board, this is the easiest to understand, the most broken out for the layman person to understand, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I fully understand, and I feel like I'm being, as a trustee, fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money, and through the explanation, you've made my job easier. So thank you.
And I'd like to tag on the explanation that Mr. Austin just gave.
So Charles, I do have a question. So this budget that we're going to approve is for the next fiscal year or next 2 fiscal years. Why do they say that in statute?
So for the next 2 years.
It can be or for the next 2 fiscal years.
So the one you're approving is just for this coming year.
We didn't prep the bill.
No, if you read the bottom of your deal, it says it shall be in effect for the next fiscal year or 2 fiscal years. There's something to that same statute.
Where are you?
But we go by this, just the one,
Where are you
this.
going?
Just go back to
Right here.
If you go to the
Oh, yeah.
budget,
The 6,
adoption,
14,
that's what it
11.
says. And
Oh.
so,
Oh,
and so I'm wondering if you didn't, for some reason, do a budget, then you would follow this budget for the following fiscal year? And Charles, I shouldn't ask that because I'll go, and I'll read that statute.
So the reality for me is, we can't approve anything until we have a 100. So we have to do an annual approval of a budget based on the 100 or based on our AEM. So that might be something that if there was a catastrophe that you had to approve something, or you approved something because you didn't have a 100. But that historically, I guess I will research, but in the almost 18 years in this type of position, I don't know a district that approved something for 2 years.
Yeah, I didn't catch it there. I'm just pointing it out. I never realized it was this.
So now we got somebody showing.
Hey, we can save time. Let's just do this for next year too. Call her down, folks.
I'm making my job
Connor's
easy.
gonna shoot me. Okay, so Heidi, help me get the order right. Do we first read this thing and then vote, or do we vote first and then read it?
how do you want it?
I don't think it matters. I just have to read it out loud because it's a resolution. You're passing a resolution and not just a motion.
Okay, so this is the resolution that we're going to vote to approve.
Budget appropriation and levy resolution. Whereas on the 8th day of July, 2024, the budget officer filed with the Board of Trustees of Johnson County School District Number 1 a budget message for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. And whereas a summary of such budget was entered into the board minutes, and a notice of public hearing on such budget together with said summary was published in the Buffalo Bulletin, a newspaper having a weekly circulation in the county in which the district is located, on the 8th day of July. And whereas a public hearing was held concerning such budget on July 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m., at which time all interested parties were given an opportunity to be heard. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Johnson County School District Number 1 that such budget, as revised, if applicable, is hereby adopted and subject to future amendment. It is in effect for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Be it further resolved that the following appropriations are made as of and for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, and that those respective expenditures applicable to each department and fund shall be limited to the amounts hereby appropriated, subject to further amendment. Do I go through the appropriations? Okay. Do I say one?
Yes, because
Okay.
that's the category she's showing.
Okay, so appropriation 01, general fund, in the amount of $25,687,655. Appropriation 1 GFSR supplemental in the amount of $1,315,674. Appropriation 20 special revenue fund in the amount of $3 million. Appropriation 21 major maintenance in the amount of $3 million. Appropriation 22 BOCHIs in the amount of $250,000. Appropriation 30 capital projects in the amount of $500,000. Appropriation 31 depreciation special purpose in the amount of $500,000. Appropriation 40 debt service in the amount of $75,000. Appropriation 50 nutrition services in the amount of $875,000. Appropriation 51 teacherage in the amount of $75,000. Appropriation 60 internal service in the amount of $100,000 for total appropriations in the amount of $35,378,329. Be it further resolved that after deducting all available cash and estimated revenues, the following amounts must be raised through general taxation, and that such levies are required to provide such amounts hereby authorized as of and for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. County and local resources in the amount of $14,750,000, with additional mills to be levied. Johnson County Recreation District for 1 mill in the amount of $410,000, and Johnson County BOCHIs for half a mill in the amount of $205,000 for a total of $615,000.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of approving the resolution and the proposed budget signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay.
We have a budget.
Okay.
So Travis, on my behalf as a superintendent, I want to say thank you to the Board of Trustees for your support with this process. Because I want to talk about the journey a little bit. Last year at this time, we were expected to pay back $1.9 million, and we had to get a $3.9 million loan. So we were paid almost $6 million back. We had a cash revenue flow of reduction of about 30% monthly. I started this journey 3 years ago with a $1.3 million deficit. It was $700,000 last year. We're down to 120-some thousand now. We're getting closer to maintaining a sustainable budget and start growing. I know there's been some hard discussions. I know there's been some questions. I know there's stakeholders out there that say, what's the big deal? That's a huge deal. I can say we're probably the only district that went through that type of funding, and we're able to, with cash flows, be able to make it and say, we made our last payment of our loan payment back. We've now presented to you a budget that has, we feel at this point in time, that cash flow issue monthly can be resolved with what we've been able to do with ESSER funds, and we can start making some good decisions. This is a reflection of the work that's been done by the team. You've allowed me to put people in place. You've allowed me to adopt a new software, and we're starting to see some of the results of that. So this journey has not been easy, and I'm hoping this will be one of the, in my 4th year, will be a much easier year when it comes to finances. And I really pray that, and I'll just be honest with it, we don't have any major obstacles, because every year there's been a major obstacle. One smooth one as far as that goes. So I appreciate your support as a board, because I know there was not a glimmer of light at some point in time, but the light is getting a little bit brighter. Fair?
Yes. Right on. Good work, team. Okay. Next up, proposed policy revisions. And I wrote this one up, you guys. Listen to my wording and see if, well, I did. With Charles's help and guidance, this is what it came up with. I would entertain a motion to approve the district leadership's recommendation to accept the WSBA Board Policy Audit recommendations for Section A, Foundations and Basic Communication, Section B, board governance and operations, and section C, general school administration. This recommendation is for the first reading only and will bring JCSD 1 policies up to date with Wyoming school board policies. Any comments or changes to the current recommendation by the WSBA will be considered before the second reading. All optional recommendations by the WSBA audit will be reviewed by JCSD 1 Policy Committee before coming to the board for approval. So, if I can get somebody to say,
So moved.
I've got a motion to do that. Great, thank you. And a second. Now, discussion. This is the heavy-duty homework that we were given.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, we were going with just the recommendations for now, right? Not the options.
No optionals at this time. We'll run those through policy committee, but we're taking these recommendations that we got to get all of our policies, A, consistent with each other, and B, up to the current standard WSBA is suggesting.
So Kristen, with that, we don't even want to delve into the optional stuff. This is just getting the foundation set of what needs to be and change the wording to update something.
Additional comments or questions on policy revisions?
Isn't there a couple that we said we were gonna throw out on C?
Correct.
Was that in the motion?
It is
Well,
not.
it excluded C, K, A, and C. And maybe you should.
Was that in the, was that
Yeah,
in the
maybe we
motion?
should have said that. No, I didn't word
So
that
I
specifically.
apologize, we could exclude.
Yeah.
We need to,
So we.
Okay.
Amend the-
Amend your
Amend the motion.
motion.
In section C, we're gonna exclude, somebody say it again for me,
CKA and CM.
CKA and CM.
I apologize.
That's okay. So,
So I would make a motion to approve the amended motion.
and we got a second over here? Yes, all in favor of approving the amended motion, signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign.
Was it, did we finish discussion? Did you have something? that you were-
no, because we threw those out. That's what I wanted to throw out.
Good call, good catch, you guys, thank you. Okay, then all in favor of approving this on policy on first reading, easy for me to say. What's that?
With the amended motion.
With the amended motion, signify by saying aye. Right? All opposed, same sign. Right off, exclude CKA and CM. All right, other business from the board.
No, we have to do the WHSA combo.
What did I miss?
C.
You added
Did I jump one?
Yeah, the C1.
Oh, sorry, you're right. I wrote it down in school and then I buried it. Okay. Would entertain a motion to approve the superintendent to approve combination school agreements that don't require money committed. Same thing we did last year with the same verbiage that we used for the 24-25 school year.
So you're just allowing me to approve all combination school agreements without coming to you as a board of trustees as long as there's no additional cost to the district.
So moved.
Okay, so we've got a motion.
Second.
And a second to authorize the super. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you guys. Good catch again. Good thing you guys are watching me tonight. I'm trying to get through this. All right, next up, from the board. Anybody got anything we need to cover tonight? Hearing none. Proposed affordable housing. Charles, will you give us a little rundown on this one?
Heidi, what time did we ask our presenter to be here? 7.
You're on.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're 10 minutes slow, but
Sorry.
I think that.
I thought there was more than one presenter, was it just you?
I think it's just me.
Lucky you.
Former VHS grad, by the way.
Thank you.
You're a good helper. Thank you.
Brought my help tonight.
Good.
Mr. Chair, Board, thanks for putting me on the agenda. My name is Terry Acey. I've been the city planner, building inspector for about the last 3 years. I guess the thing I'm seeing recurring is a shortage of housing or affordable housing in Buffalo. It's the number one thing I get through my office door. This will be the second year. Housing Solutions, the company out of Montana, they've recently built 2 of these complexes you've seen, these apartment complexes in Cody. They just finished one up last year. They've done some Casper, some Powell, and so I guess more or less what I'm looking for is what I'm trying to get the city to do is use some of their land to build something similar to what you're seeing. I'm here before you to ask you just for your opinion, your support. Where there's proposing this, and the land we're proposing is the city do a 99-year lease on city land, and that's a WCDA requirement. It's a 99. It's Wyoming Development Authority. That's how these guys function. They go to the WCDA and they get a low-income housing tax credit, and so Wyoming has so many this year. Every state gets so many of these tax credits, and then the WCA administers them to groups like Housing Solutions. So Housing Solution goes in with a proposal. They say, we've got the land in Buffalo. This is what we're going to build. 24 units. They go through an application process. It's scored. Part of that score is, has Buffalo had anything from the WCA in a long time? Where is the location, opposed to schools, supermarkets, stuff like that, and is the city willing to back them? And that doesn't necessarily mean giving them land or doing a lease, but does the city support this? Does the school support this? Any community support, that ranks them higher on that WCA application. And so they came last year. It was kind of a rush deal. Council denied the proposal for the 99-year lease. And so they've come back this year, same location, same spot, and now it's been kind of through the washboard once, and everyone understands kind of what it is and how it works. And so I'm going to be presenting this to the council on the 16th. This did go before Planning and Zoning Commission the last Tuesday of last month, and it was recommended for approval that council make an action on this to do a lease on it. So I guess what I'm looking for you guys, where this proposed lot is on the corner of Cemetery Road and Burke, South Burke. So you know where we keep our dumpsters now, right there on the corner.
So it's right there on the dumpsters, right?
Yeah, right there. There's four or five lots there the city owns, so we combine those if the council would approve it. So this hasn't been approved. This isn't a go thing. This will go before council on the 16th for their final determination on that. But we're redoing our comprehensive plan for the city. We're in the middle. We're the final stages of doing a land use plan for this. And so with those things, with the comprehensive plan, we put out a survey to everybody. There's some questions on there regarding housing. One of them being, is there adequate housing for all income levels? And about 80% said no. Another question was, does Buffalo need housing as far as single family housing? 80% said yes. Do we need more duplexes, condominium units, things like that? 80% said yes. And then do we need more apartments, buildings like that? 80% said yes on that survey. So it's not that I'm just coming to you to say, hey, we need housing for no reason. The results are in, and it's out there.
So I asked Terry, and then I asked if there's somebody else, but there's been several committees, so that's my confusion. And over the last 4 or 5 months, I'll be honest with you, I haven't made the meetings like I should have. So I asked him to come here today and present what the actual proposal is, because there's 2 sides to every story, right? And understand and be able to ask him questions. Because it's went from affordable housing to workforce housing, and then the conversation is what's low income housing and what does that look like. So I had conversations with the hospital about what they need, and we hear the different levels. And one of the big things I've always been here is when my discussion was affordable housing is that recruiting of teachers that I've had in front of you as a board of trustees, because we've had some teachers that we've hired, couldn't find a house, and then they turned in their letter and said, hey, I can't come, right? So that definition of affordable housing, workforce housing, Terry explained, well, it is affordable housing, is workforce housing. Where's that difference? So I appreciate him coming tonight, but there are three different versions of conversations that are happening out there. It's not a decision that we as a district have to make.
No.
It's just feedback that's in front of the city and kind of clarify some verbiage and what the definition of a verbiage is compared to affordable housing. Or I thought the new term was workforce housing. That was the one that on the committee that I sat on, I thought that's where we were going. But again, there's just a discussion, what's workforce and what's affordable. So thank you for coming tonight and presenting and maybe asking some questions, okay?
Sure.
But you're not taking action tonight, I want to be very clear. This is not an action item.
So I think what you're referring to is the JCCF Foundation that was recently formed, Johnson County Community Foundation, which is a whole other board, which I'm a liaison to basically, or I just try to give help when I can on any topics they have. So this went before them. Their board recommended approval to the city in hopes they would approve this. That's a whole different group, nothing to do with the city, its own, nonprofit, basically, that's trying to get something started in Buffalo for housing. Now, the terms affordable housing, workforce housing, they all go hand in hand. So when you talk about workforce housing, so this could be workforce housing. It might not be for your certified pay, but you have, your food staff, your groundskeepers, your janitors, someone may fit into this as workforce housing. Like I said, it may not, if you look down through what the cost would be, where you qualify, one person making $40,000 qualifies for one of these units, a mom with a kid can make $45,000, a mom with 2 kids, and the list goes up from there. So, it may not target the certified, but you're having trouble keeping or trying to find housing to. Another thing to keep in mind is when you bring units in like this, there's nowhere in Buffalo for the elderly to downsize to. If you look at that, you have elderly people wanting to downsize, and there's really nowhere to downsize. And so when you get that demographic moving, it's freeing up housing. It's a big circle. And so if you got people that just don't want to own a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom home anymore and looking for somewhere else to go and they're on a fixed income or Social Security or whatever it may be, this may fit the bill, So it's not just for the low income people. I mean, it shifts everything when you start adding housing that's in the lower income and also smaller in size. With something like this, there's no maintenance, nothing like that. That's all kept up by the HOA. These guys will have an on-site. They reserve 1 unit for a on-site manager. And so right now, this is what we're looking at. There is a missing middle, and I think that's what Charles is talking about, and that's that range 300 to 400, and I mean, we have plenty of houses from 400 to 600 to $1 million to above. There's a missing middle ground there, and no one seems to be able to solve that. The federal government does not, or the state government doesn't have any kind of funding for that missing middle, and that's just the facts. There's no grants, there's no nothing like that you can go in for that missing middle. It's got to be lower income, it's got to be, if we're talking advance of the tax credit programs and all that, there's nothing for that in the middle.
So these are their parameters.
This is their
According to
parameters,
the
yes.
poverty
This is
level
according,
percentage.
this is actually according to WCA. So WCA sets some restrictions on what they can charge based on the income.
So it would still definitely be kind of that middle class
Right.
in the large.
Yeah, it does, but, like I said, there's no real solution to that as of right now. Because there's no funds out there for that.
Open up some of these houses though.
It could. I'm not promising that, but it could. I mean, you gotta look at it big picture. Everything starts moving. Like I said, it is workforce. It's just, which workforce.
So Terry, what you said about the elderly and they want to downsize from their 3 to 4 bedroom home, well, when they sell that, what kicks them out of this because their income's too high. So my next question to you is, what changed from when council denied this last year? What has changed from then to now?
Time. So council's thing was it was a push, and they did. These guys showed up in, I believe it was late July, and their or maybe it was even first meeting in August. The application was due by September 1st to WC. And so it was rushed, it was a rush thing, and that was their feedback, is this was too quick, it was brought on too quick. So we played through this whole year, still on the table, and so I'm hoping that changes their mind.
So why is private enterprise, why won't it work for them?
Why will what work for them?
Why won't this building affordable housing for private enterprise work?
Why isn't the free market
Yeah.
generating things like this?
Because it's gonna take money, it's gonna take federal
Big
money,
bucks
big
up.
money, and this is done through.
But there's people out there with big money if this
But
is.
there's no account for it. I mean, we can say that all day long, and I've heard that from contractors, they give me land, but that's not what they're doing. These guys will have 25 grand in out of pocket just to turn in the application. They have to produce a private housing study, and so they're not gonna start any of that until they say, we have to show the land. Now, these guys have gone out and looked for land on their own to purchase in Buffalo. I've kept in contact with them. They've offered up some money on a few parcels, it's just, they can't make it work for what people are asking for land, in Buffalo. It doesn't pencil out. So these guys can't cash flow 12 units. 24 units is pushing it for them to cash flow. That's the minimum size they can go, because anything smaller just will not cash flow.
Won't make it.
So, they've gone out, they've looked at, just securing land, through loans or using their own funds. This is just an option, and like I said, if the city were to do this, this is gonna shoot us to the top of the WC. It's gonna be for sure. I mean, this is gonna push Buffalo up there. More communities support it has, and you have someone saying, yes, the city will give you a 99-year lease on this property. To do this, at which time, if they would say yes, 99 years, they would have the option to keep the property with the units on it, the city, or they would have the first right of refusal to buy that back from the city.
So is the city eligible, just by the median income already for this type of project?
So that's all from their general basics, preliminary stuff. Yes, Buffalo is qualified. That's why they're in here. These aren't the other guys. There's 3 other companies that are looking at Buffalo the same. They all can't. We've met with them in the JCCF has met with all 3 of them. None of them they're all looking at Buffalo, eyeing Buffalo. They all think Buffalo is a good spot for the WCA just because of the surrounding areas have all gotten the WCA last year. Cody, Powell, Casper, Torrington, all these other towns have gotten the WCA funds. So Buffalo is kind of sitting out there they're up, basically. They're sitting in the batter circle for these WCA tax funds. So, it's like I said, all I'm going by is the feedback I get from the surveys we put out and from what I hear from people. This is not Section 8 housing. This is not government subsidized housing. You don't pay your rent, you're gone. The government doesn't pay your rent. So I get a lot of these areas, it's affordable housing. It's going to be horrible and, crime ridden, everything else. This works a little bit. WCA keeps a close watch on this property. And I believe location where the put these has a good success rate of where to go and how much crime kind of stuff that you see where these go. This kind of goes along, with your mission, make school, whatever for all kids. I mean, this is going to cut your busing costs down. If you're asking me from a planner's point, you plan your big developments around schools. In fact, when you see a big subdivision, usually they leave a space. And we're not talking Buffalo, the bigger cities, when they develop housing development, they leave a space for schools. Because you build around schools. It cuts down your busing costs, it cuts down on all those things. You've got everything right close, walking distance, after school sports. So from the planning world, you put your big high density developments around that. If you look at our land use plan from 2007, that whole area is slated for medium to high density residential. We're currently reviewing our land use plan. Should be wrapped up this month, but that has also been slated the same way, high density residential, because that's just smart planning. High density development around your schools. So I guess, I guess if you guys feel that's a bad spot, good spot, whatever your feelings may be on it, if the board would, at some point like to write a letter of approval, disapproval, just what are your thoughts on it, whatever they may be. And I can present those to council at some point, if everyone wanted to write an individual letter, or come together and write one, or, and that would serve two purposes. If it was positive, that would go along with their application, going into WCDA, you know, that the school supported the location. If not, the town didn't. So
Get the date again for me. When would you need such a letter?
So I'm gonna present to council on the 16th, next Tuesday, this month.
Oh.
Or next week. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fast turnaround for us.
I do have a quick question here, and I don't know that you could really answer it. I'm assuming, like, with picking all the properties, they've done evaluation of all the city-owned properties, in all the spaces, and like, I understand, like, building around schools, like, mitigating those costs and all those things. And within the city planning and within the planning of what we're going forward with, roads are obviously like top and priority, because that area, I mean, you just heard me talk tonight about the crosswalks and all those things. And so, it, you know, there's, on that cemetery road, there's no sidewalks. And like, you know, I wanna be sure that like, we're looking at building that, but we also need to like pay attention to the surrounding areas and like the roads and like, and the infrastructure and like, you know, the water and all the things. I mean, I'm sure, but I just like to ask. I mean, I would hope, but then, you know,
And so, yeah, that's the.
I don't wanna get to a point where it's like, oh, well, nobody looked into the water and, oh, well, it's sinking right there on Cemetery Road, or, you know what I mean?
Right, no, so these guys have to go through all those tests, all the geotech tests.
Yeah, and that's pretty good. That's your job.
Right, it is that kind of stuff. As far as the road and infrastructures, you know, that's on our CIP, I believe, cemetery roads on our capital improvement plan for 2027. It's probably gonna be bumped up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So it's crumbling, and so we're looking at doing a similar thing that we did on Klondike, on the cemetery road, and put a hardener in there, so kind of an overlay on that and redoing it. Like I said, it's on our CIP, but it's probably gonna get bumped just the way it's going right now, so. No, we do look at that. We did a safe routes to school study a few years ago.
Good, okay.
For, actually paid all the sidewalks on Burritt and, Conrad and all of those, so.
And that had a bike lane to cemetery, that same project.
Yeah, so.
Well,
Yeah.
So they run over all the
Not
markers.
really.
Yeah, and so, I mean,
They just
that's,
painted the line.
I agree, we do need to look at all of that and that. Looking at Cemetery Road, that's another reason I think that's a great spot for this, is because you go out Cemetery Road instead of, you know, traffic, you got two ways out to
Well,
the
then
main
all of a
street.
sudden, we're gonna hit a highway too, right?
Right.
So that's just, I mean,
Yeah.
and traffic and, I mean, I'm just gonna say it, I live in that area. I hit that spot and we'll sit there for a while, like, you know.
Right.
So I just wanna make sure that that's on the radar, like that we're looking at all the things. I mean, I'm a Dave, I agree with free enterprise, but I understand people are struggling too. And so, yeah, I appreciate you bringing that forward.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And one of my questions that I had the other night was like, what was the difference between affordable housing and, workforce? And so you answered that,
So
so.
they're interchangeable, so
Yeah.
that's what makes it difficult. This is affordable as in WCDA standards.
Yeah.
They set the limits and they set the prices.
And so they're the ones that like, so the Housing Solutions is the guy that builds it, but then WCDA is like the manager. They set the HOAs, they set all the parameters as far as like what goes in.
Yeah, and then they do, I don't know, monthly or
Whatever.
every 6 months, they do updates checks on them and make sure.
Okay.
That, like I said, a full housing study will have to be submitted from these guys, even to turn in with the application. So there's a lot of legwork that goes involved, it's not just fill out the form. And that's why you don't see free enterprise coming in and do this. These guys specialize in these kind of things. It's a very long drawn out process. It takes reports and studies and everything else. So when you get I've had conversations, well, give me one and we'll do it. But that's not what we're doing here. It is an option to lease here, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Also. if they don't get the WCDA funding, the lease is gone. It's just full.
And the direction of this building, will it be facing south? Is that what is my
It'll be-
understanding?
It'll be facing west. So it'll sit
Oh.
along, it'll
Look at
sit
further.
east or
Gotcha.
north and south.
It'll be built north.
Got it.
So, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, so it's probably a dumb question, but Buffalo and kind of the surrounding area doesn't have, anything that would maybe be contaminated or need cleanup that could get like brownfield money.
Not that I know of.
Like, I can't think of anything that,
That's where it's hard. It's hard to find anything different than these special funds that are out there for this lower. I'm hoping working with the community foundation that they can start doing some benefits and fundraisers and start bringing in some of their own money and then also putting in for some of the 1% money and stuff like that they could use for housing projects and maybe for that mess in the middle. And that's the only way that's going to get done. It's, I think, through private donations and nonprofits that are gonna do that for the missing middle.
Well, the recommendation came from the Johnson County Community Foundation.
Yeah,
And is that endorsed by the city council or is that,
not necessarily, no. So they're kind of their own private.
they kind of just started their own?
They're a 501c. They started under the recommendation of council and the county commissioners. It's kind of the city doesn't want to constantly have to deal with every housing thing that comes to them. The county doesn't want to have, so they formed it was under the city that they formed. I mean, the city doesn't say this is a city group. It's not like the Trails Board or anything like that. This is a 501c.
Okay.
On that board or on that liaison to that, you have Scott Mattson, Councilman Mattson, and then from the county you have Jeff Shelley on that. They're kind of liaisons to
For the county.
for the Johnson County Community Foundation.
has Boner Mountain come up as an option?
No, it hasn't. No. That's a
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're really digging into a quagmire, Chris.
It comes up a lot, amount of housing, more or less, we knock it down to keep it, no, it hasn't come up with that one.
Mr. Tracy, the new fuel station that's coming into Buffalo, no doubt had to do some studies about housing and employment. What did they come up with?
They never released what they came up with or how they figured it, but they figured that they can come up with that with the employees they need. I think they're looking at about, I went to Hardin, to be about the same one as Hardin, and I talked to the general manager, because they were talking to 60 employees or something like that. So I stopped them there when they had a chat with him, about 16 full-time employees is what they're gonna need, which, well, I guess, where do you get those, but.
At one time, they said 30 to 40.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound there as good as, yeah, 16.
Right, yeah, so I think about 16 full-time employees, there will be a restaurant in there, it'll be 24-hour, fueling station, so, they figured somehow they can make it work.
So Buffalo had the housing and stuff available, they felt like, for these employees that they need.
Or they think they can get the employees that have the housing already, so, whether they're gonna offer, whether they're gonna offer more money than the next guy down the road, or what, I can't answer that, how they think that.
I didn't know if they shared the study.
No, they haven't, no. So yeah, that is something that will be, I think we have a set date of December 19th for finish date on that.
Of what year?
Well, thank you.
This year, December 19th, they're saying, yeah, and so.
Don't hold your breath.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Putting it on the agenda.
So Terry, I want to say thanks for coming.
Sure.
And clarifying some of the misperceptions or terminology that I think is out there. So, as a board, if they write a letter as a board as a whole, that's the way it would be presented. You as individuals want to write something as a community member to support that, that's a different story, but that's a discussion. If you want to write a letter as a board as a whole, that would be something you want by next Tuesday, is that what I hear?
If you can do it, I mean, that's what to ask
But
for.
you can still write individual, as a community member, stakeholder, if you would like. Fair?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
I do have one question. So if they do this and they do the study, will we have access to that study?
To the housing study?
Yeah.
I believe they give it to us, yeah. And I could probably say that's part of the conditions if we do the 99-year lease on that. You may have also seen, you can get on WCD's website. They just published a 2022 study. The same as 2022, but it just got published. And so it's interesting to read that because they're saying the same thing about short on housing. So they've gone through each county and kind of done their own study as far as the housing assessment goes. And so if anyone would like to get on that, on the WCD website and check that study out, and it should be under their housing, 2022 housing assessment for Wyoming. Quite lengthy, but you can just pick out Johnson County.
And it might be too much of a detailed question. You just say Charles, be quiet. So the household income range, I'm assuming is based on a formula based on what's happening in Buffalo, or is that just a national rate that establishes what that is? Because is there a potential of that going up to get more people in, or potential of that going down? Is there an annual review of what qualifies people or not?
Right, so that changes every year.
Every year.
Yeah,
Okay.
with their application process, they'll say these are the new numbers for
Okay.
qualifying for a unit. And like I said, these are income-based units, so again, there's a little change there. Say I make 50,000, you make 40,000, we both have a 2-bedroom apartment. I may pay $200 more a month than you pay, based on income. So, the same apartment may cost one guy more than the other guy, just based on income. So it's not a set. Everyone pays $400 a month. It's all.
So Terry, help me to read this. So I'm looking at household income range, and I'm gonna look at the fourth person.
Sure.
So you can make 28,600 to 57,000, because that's a huge disparity there for the same house. So
Correct.
am I reading that correct?
You're reading it, and that's where if you made 28, your rent's gonna be $300 less a month than mine if I made 57. So yeah, you still qualify between those whole ranges, but that's where the flex and the difference in the rent comes from.
That's a pretty good.
Yeah, there's a big dam there. I mean, it fits a lot of people. Like I said, many cars are certified workers, not quite work. The missing middle is still the missing middle, unfortunately.
So and let me just ask you this, Terry, in private enterprise, I mean, if you've got somebody that's not paying their rent, it almost takes an act of God to get them kicked out. And so you're telling me with these, that will not be the case?
No, this is not Section 8. I mean, it's the same, I don't know what the laws are on that, but it's, you've got to give them their due.
Well, during COVID, you could.
Yeah, right.
And they didn't have to pay you, and they still don't have to.
Yeah, I think some of that's changed. I can get some of those answers from these guys and pass them along to you guys, but, like I said, they've done this, they just finished one in Cody, they've done 2 in Cody now. And so I don't think they have that problem because these guys make money on it. So, they're here to make money, I'm not gonna lie. So they're gonna put them up, they're gonna give these tax, what they do is they go to a bank. If they win the application, they get X amount of tax credits. They take these tax credits to someone that has a big tax liability, like a bank, a big corporation. The big corporation trades them money for these tax credits. And so whoever they give these tax credits is funding the operation. At the end of the day, Housing Solutions owns that building. They manage it and they cash flow. That's how they, off their cash flow, that's how they make money.
So how does the government make their money up? Because they lost out on what they should get from that company for income tax, because that's what a tax credit is. So they lost out on hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars. How does the government recoup that?
They don't. That's just it. See, the federal government gives so many of these tax credits to every state. And so it's through the federal funds, they give X amount to Wyoming, X amount to Montana, and then they're distributed through WCDA.
Has that always been the case, and will it change with a presidency?
Right. I can't answer that. I believe that's the way the low income tax credits.
Well, we've gone through a lot of different ones. So has it changed in the last 20 years?
No, I believe the low income tax credit program has always been that way.
And I don't know if they change it because, like for me, they write a farm bill, and they write a farm bill every 4 to 5 years, okay? And it does change, and it doesn't have to do with the presidency. That's just it. They change, and the money dollars change. So I was curious about it.
And it very well could. I mean, government, they can take them away tomorrow. I guess, I guess.
Probably not.
If you're looking at that way, but, I don't think this program has changed in a long time.
So it's stable is what you're telling me?
Yeah, like I said, these guys they've done multiple of them over the last 10 years in Wyoming.
So Gillette has numerous ones of these. Are those all privately funded or
There's WCA ones in Gillette. I don't want to misquote it, but I think On Development, that's another company that does this. They did them in Gillette. I may have.
There's four of them over there.
Don't
And I
quote me
think
on
this
that.
is what we're looking
Yeah, and so there's company, Casper, and they use WCA funds. They all use the WCA fund. Some years they may, there may be 10 applications WCA, and some years there may be 3. They usually award 2 projects, max. And so, like I said, it's where you rank on that scale on the WCA application.
So I'm getting into the nitty gritty,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
I
you're
shouldn't.
getting dirty.
But I wanna know, because, yeah, it's hard for me to support something if I don't know.
Yeah.
So how
Okay,
much,
thanks.
how much do they kick in?
Do they put in, and so whatever they can't get out of tax credits, they have to finance. And so whatever.
How much can they get out of tax credits? Is there a limit?
I don't know that number. Yeah, there is a limit.
Well, you can't get
The
100%.
tax credits are only worth so much. Yeah, and so it may not finance this project 100%. I think he said
We don't have a motion.
20 to 30%, is what they'll have to invest of entire project.
All right, guys, if we need additional information, anybody feel free to go to a meeting of the,
The council.
that has something to do with this and not school board. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
guys.
much, Terry.
Terry,
Thank you.
Terry, what time? City council is at 5 o'clock on the 16th. Thank you.
All right, next up, training and barbecue, July 25. Charles, you got anything to tell us about this or
We need
anything?
a head count of who thinks they can make it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So that agenda, you have in front of you, that looks like there's gonna be between 30 and 35 people, with board members, superintendent, business managers, for the barbecue that evening. So I'm gonna expect between 35 and probably 60 people for the training in that afternoon. I'm excited, for that for several reasons that, you as a board will sit with other boards when we talk about, some of the new laws coming down, from Scott and address, board meetings. So there's gonna be a lot of collaborative things to those trainings that day. So you do have that schedule. If you'd like me, to resubmit that schedule to you, I will, but the 25th is ready to roll. We're, looks like we're gonna have, probably, a barbecue of ribs and maybe racanka, with some side salads, for that evening. I've talked with Travis, and once we get with, Shane, we'll probably assign board members to other tables with other board members so we can have discussion, at the barbecue also, and just, create that collaborative time. So it is a pretty high level training, but more excitingly, we're doing with other boards. So we'll see how this falls together over the next couple of weeks.
Who did you bring in to lead the training?
So Scott Kopicki is coming in to do the training,
That's the
legal, and Kevin Mitchell.
WSBA lawyer.
Yeah, WSDA attorney, and then Kevin Mitchell, who is the outgoing, director of WASA, has been doing these board level trainings, in a couple other districts, so we decided to bring them in. So we've invited Pete, we've invited Bridget, our legal counsel, both of them, to attend, the barbecue, but we have our nurses, I've invited our principals, and administration or leadership from other districts to attend the actual legal training that he's putting on starting at 2:30, okay? But yes, it's gonna be
It might be.
a non-typical, barbecue, PD day that we've experienced in the last 3 years. It's gonna be a little bit higher level, so.
We're doing this one at Cloud Peak.
At Cloud Peak.
I'm sorry, I have to be the one to ask, I don't know where the agenda is.
It's in the link in the.
Would you resubmit it?
Yep,
Yeah.
I'll resubmit it.
I
It
got
is
it
board
before.
report,
Yeah.
Okay, and then you hit the link and it comes up. I got this.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, job descriptions, new rollout.
So just to inform you as a board of trustees, we talked a little bit about a work session to be open to the public, is the
worked at EMS with establishing the job descriptions. Those are effective this month, and then we'll start clicking away on those and making the needed changes. But all that work, we're just moving the ball off the shelf and moving forward with it, and the job description piece. So Heidi's been trained on that. So as we need to, if there is any individual updates or what I want to say, typing errors in those job descriptions, we're gonna start to make this happen. So the work that we put in with EMS for job descriptions is effective as of July, right now, 2024. So anyway, that's where we're at.
Excellent. Do they go out on the website? Is that where you find them?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, August work session.
August 7th.
And are we gonna call that one a special meeting?
Yes.
Do the goal setting and superintendent finish the evaluation?
And also for the new board member, I don't see it on there.
Yeah, good call.
We will pick that candidate.
Yeah, but it should be on here that that's other business.
It was under the consent.
Yeah, I think
Oh, it's
So
under
board
consent,
vacancy
I'm
is
sorry,
consent.
thank you. So we're going to, they're going to advertise, hopefully we'll get some interest. We'll have a special meeting, right?
Yes,
And then we will pick that person so they're ready to rock and roll.
get them right for August.
Sounds great.
Okay, but we're gonna limit topics on that one, just the two things then, right?
So
Special
our,
meeting.
our budget amendment will be real quick. They'll go over that.
Okay,
We'll go through the applications, and then we'll go through my evaluation goal set, correct?
yes, and that'll be an executive session. Okay,
And then the August.
August board meeting. Check. All right, anything else from the board on any of these? Okay, last thing, we'll go into executive session for a brief update. So for WS 16-4-405 personnel and legal matters, the board will do a short executive session, and we will.
Will there be any, there will not be any action after this?
Not
Okay, thank you.
That's my knowledge. No.
So the agenda for the 25th was just sent to you guys.
Make a motion to go into executive session for statute.
Okay, a motion, and a second, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those, same sign.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
No, came on.
Oh
I think it's allergies or something. No, I feel great. Just like, thank you.
Does he,
Not
all my
sure I
kids
like the
went to
idea of having it right
Berkeley,
by Bob Peak.
What's that?
all my kids went to Berkeley for a week, came back with him.
Oh, of course.
Outside welcome to school.
That's right. No, I've been healthy, just all of a sudden.
Everybody
Who knows?
has it.
Good deal.
Short recess, and then we'll come back in and hit executive, or you just want to get?
So,
I think so too, we can roll this one.
yeah, this is going to take just a minute to stay here.
Well, so,
What's that?
just put stuff. Thank you.